not super loud, so if you're interested, feel free to come gather around for that. So what we have right here is referred to as a four-tune circuit. The reason we call it a four-tune circuit is because you have two transmitters, two receivers, so 2 and 2, you have a four-tune circuit. And this is basically the precursor to what we know now as radio. So when I turn on our transmitter here, it sends over a frequency over to our receiver over here, lights up the little lights there, lets off a little bit of noise. Now I realize that this isn't nearly as interesting as the Tesla coil that you just saw right up top there, but it is still a very, very important invention. This is what laid the groundwork for stuff we have nowadays like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, wireless charging. This is where it all started, so this is a very important invention. If anybody here is familiar with the name Marconi, Marconi is the guy who's credited with inventing the radio. Marconi used Nikola Tesla's patent right here in order to create the foundation for that radio. He was also able to do the first long distance transmission with it as well. He had one of these set up over in the UK. We had one set up here in Canada. He was able to send a message from the UK over the Atlantic Ocean from one continent to the other.
Yes.
Now this also had a very, very important job back in World War I as well. If I do it a little more intermittently, you might recognize it a little bit better. Does anybody know what that was?
Morse code.
Morse code, exactly. Back in World War I, this is how troops were able to send messages to each other over long distances without having to run the wires across the battlefield. Not only was it a little bit safer for them, but it was also more reliable since there were no wires that could be cut by any enemies, so they were able to send those messages a little bit better. Now, does anyone know what message I sent out with the Morse code? SOS. SOS, I heard it there. If anyone's familiar with the Titanic, very famous ship, they made a movie about it. When they went down, this is how they sent out their SOS message. They had one of these on board. One of the passing ships also had a four-tune circuit. They were able to receive that SOS message, swing by, and save a couple of those people. Now this patent right here was used for communication purposes, but Nikola Tesla, he wanted to go one step further than that. Instead of stopping at wireless communication, he wanted to do wireless electricity. See, Tesla had this plan. He wanted to be able to transmit free wireless electricity across the world, and in 1891, he took the first step towards doing that by creating the very first Tesla coil. Now the Tesla coil was able to transmit alternating current through the airwaves, kind of like how radio or Wi-Fi works, but in this case with electricity. So he could stand up next to it and hold up a light bulb, and it would light up that light bulb without any need for wires or cables. That eventually became a 50-foot version in Colorado Springs, which we have a model of right over there. That was able to light up 3 light bulbs from 100 feet away, and eventually he tried to get that turned into the Wardenclyffe Tower, which we have a model of right over here, which was supposed to be a 187-foot Tesla coil in Long Island, New York. Now to give you some perspective on how tall that is, the falls themselves are 7 feet shorter than that tower would have been. So that gives you an idea of just how big that would have been there. Now unfortunately, he lost the funding for it during its construction, so it never got finished. But just because that stopped there doesn't mean that we stopped finding uses for it. Turns out Tesla coils are actually really good for entertainment purposes. If anyone's ever seen the 1930s Frankenstein movie, it's using that movie for special effects. Coachella uses it at their music festival for special effects as well. Or if anyone's ever been to a Tampa Bay Lightning hockey game, whenever they score a goal, they have some in their arena that go off with a goal horn. Its most common use now, what we're gonna do for you folks here today is to play some music. So you're gonna wanna stand anywhere. You can see that big gold donut right up top there. Once again, it is pretty loud, so I suggest covering your ears for it, but don't worry, it is completely safe. We're gonna play our first song in 3, 2, 1.
That's crazy.